The Damiano Center is our woven basket of the month. Welcome everyone to today's UUCD forums. Damiano Center, this is news to me. It began as a spontaneous response in the early 80s, and it grew to provide multifaceted emergency services as we know today, leading to it becoming the quintessential community organization that it is today. And Seth Currier is going to be our featured speaker. Seth began his position as executive director of the Damiano Center in 2017. In this role, Seth is responsible for advancing the mission of the organization, managing day-to-day operations and activities, and ensuring the organization's financial health. Seth has 4 years of experience in nonprofit leadership, in addition to 7 years in higher education and service learning. Seth cares deeply about community development and seeking justice, as well as providing hospitality and respect to everyone. And with that, we are so honored for you to join us, Seth. We'll get started. People can start putting the questions in the chat. And after the first half hour, give or take a little while, we'll open it up for Q&A, and feel free to unmute yourself then. But the floor is yours, Seth. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful summer Sunday morning.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I was just telling Brett, I'm at a cabin with my in-laws and my nieces and nephews, and so there might be some movement of kids running through and things like that, but I think we should be okay. Yeah, I was also, Brett, as I was reading that description this morning, I realized I haven't updated that in several years because I've been at the Damiano for 3.5 years, so there's been a little bit more nonprofit leadership than just what was on there. But anyway, thank you all for taking the time this morning to join me and to just hear what's happening at the Damiano Center. I have a slideshow that I'm going to jump to, and we'll go through that first, but I won't be able to necessarily see the chat once I'm presenting, but if there's a question or something like that that's pertinent to wherever I'm at, just feel free to unmute and let me know. I'm happy to answer that directly, or we can talk about that when I'm done with the presentation. Either way, it does not bother me one bit. So the Damiano Center, it was a building that was built in 1904, and it was a elementary school, Catholic elementary school. It was right across the street. It's right across the street from Sacred Heart, and it was all part of. It was Sacred Heart Cathedral Grade School, it was called at the time, and it was a whole complex. There's an apartment building right next to us now that used to be where the nuns lived. The priests lived across the street. There was Sacred Heart was the cathedral, and then the high school was right across the road, across 2nd Avenue West. So it was a whole big complex that happened at the time, and that ran for many, many years. And then the Damiano kind of sat empty for a little while. And then in 1982, there was a group of people that were running they were feeding people out of their apartment. And that was right next door to the Damiano Center. And it was just because there was a need in the neighborhood. And then they asked it was getting too big for their little kitchen. And so they asked the Catholic Church if they could use the old cafeteria of the elementary school. And that's where we started. We opened in 1982. The first meal that was served was hamburger soup, and the woman whose recipe that was still volunteers at the Damiano Center today. So it's kind of a cool story, and it has grown from just doing basic meals to now we have 8 programs that we offer. We have our community kitchen, and I'll get into all these, but we have our community kitchen, which is the largest emergency meal provider in northern Minnesota. We have our kids kitchen, which is an after-school program. We have a summer food corps, which is a youth employment program. We have the largest free store in the Twin Ports, and that's where people can come and get free clothes, and I'll go through that. We have Clothes That Work to help people with employment clothes. We have community services, which is kind of our catch-all. I'll get to that. Our most recent program is a hygiene unit. We started that during COVID, and so we have showers and bathrooms available for people. And then we have HealthRealization, which is a support group that people can use for all kind of barriers, but a lot of people use it for overcoming addiction. So we'll get into all those, but that's kind of where we've grown. We It was started as a temporary solution, the Damiano Center, and now we are a permanent feature in the community. So our mission is, with respect and compassion, we honor the dignity of all people and strengthen our community by providing essential services to individuals and families who are in need. This is really important to us, this idea of dignity. A lot of times, the people that we serve, and we call them guests at the Damiano, and I know that many of you have been there and have interacted with some of our guests. A lot of the guests that come through our doors don't have a lot of people that offer them dignity from time to time. And so we really try very hard to make that be a space where there's no judgment whatsoever when people are coming through those doors. And it's beautiful because it's turned into a place of joy. I mean, there can be a lot of stigma to walk into a soup kitchen or walk into a place where you're getting free clothes. There's a lot of shame that could be attached to that. And so we really try to greet everybody with a smile and to interact with people in a way that says, hey, it's okay to be here and everybody can be here. And I've really seen that happen. It's a beautiful thing. There's times where I'm downstairs eating with the guests and they don't know that I'm the director, and I might be wearing a shirt like this, and they might say, hey, how are you doing? Where are you coming from? And not knowing that I'm the director and just thinking that I'm also coming there to have a meal. And so it's like, it's great. We have people on their lunch break. We have all sorts of people that are coming through those doors because everybody's in a place where, we're open to serving everybody. And I'll get more into that, but that's beautiful. That means that something's working there. And I can say that because the Damiano's been running a lot of years before I've been there. So it's a pretty beautiful space. Our values: we welcome people in need without judgment and serve them in the least intrusive way possible. I'll get into that a little bit more. We promote respect for all people in our workplace practices and in our service to the individuals that we serve. We strive to meet the needs of people we serve by getting to know them personally, responding to their changing needs. That's super important. We do know many of the people that are coming through. There's always new people, but we know a lot of people's names. There's something beautiful that we kind of take for granted by having your name being known and being someone addressing you by your name. Many of us get to have that experience every day, but there's a lot of people that walk through life and nobody knows their name. And we really try to make that be something that we care about deeply, and when we can, remembering everybody's name and engaging with them and just responding to their changing needs, because the needs change all the time. And I can talk more about that if anybody has any questions, but it's really significant. And then again, this is just from a business perspective. We're an excellent steward of resources, and this is one of our values: to demonstrate honesty, integrity, and accountability with the use of resources and in all relationships, dealings, and transactions. We just know that we are a benefactor from the community. I mean, we wouldn't be here without the community, and we do not take that for granted. We really try to use the community resources that we receive in a way that just as much as possible is just for serving the guests that we serve. So, and we can do that through our staff practices and stuff like that too. I can get into that a little bit more later too. Okay, so I'm going to walk through some of these programs. So this is our community kitchen. And if anybody's been to the community kitchen before, this is what it looked like before COVID. We had 6 people to a table and stretched out as far as you can see in there. And people could be without masks and making food and prepping things and then serving it to guests as they came down the line. That is not exactly the case anymore, but we're getting back towards that. But this is it's a beautiful thing. When we're not in COVID, it takes about 800 volunteers a year that help to run the Damiano, and that is a huge testament to this community, that 800 people a year are coming in and volunteering for shifts, both in the kitchen and in the clothing rooms, and in community services, and in HealthRealization, and even just in building maintenance. We have a lot of people that are working alongside our staff to 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 just help this place run and serve our community. The woman here in the blue, that's our kitchen manager. That's Flora Woodfork. She's been there for years and years, and she's the backbone of that kitchen. It wouldn't be there without her. So I think there's another picture of her coming up later too. And these are just some of our regular volunteers. This is what it looks like a little bit more now. We're changing all of this a little bit, but we've been serving meals inside, our lunches inside, since October. And but we also have to-go options as well. So people, when they come inside, they have to be 6 feet apart. So we have 2 chairs to a table, like it looks like here, spread out throughout. Everybody gets a to-go meal, but they can either eat it inside or get it to go. And they get a salad, and they get a couple fruits, and they get a hot dish and a juice or a milk and a little dessert. And so that's a beautiful thing. And then breakfast looks a little bit like Willie here, handing out coffee, hard-boiled eggs, cereal, fruit, things like that. And it's worked. We haven't missed a meal in all of COVID. In fact, we increased the numbers of meals that we did. We didn't used to serve every breakfast and every dinner. And in COVID, we increased that. So the only 2 meals, we used to serve 13 meals a week to adults and 17 meals a week to kids and families, because our kids' kitchen serves Monday through Thursday for kids and their families. During COVID, we expanded that because a lot of places weren't providing the same number of meals that they normally do. So we opened up that kids' kitchen time to everybody, and served all those to kids and adults. And then we added on 2 breakfasts throughout the week, Tuesdays and Thursday breakfasts. So the only 2 meals a week we weren't serving were Tuesdays and Thursday lunches. And we were able to do that throughout COVID. And that's pretty beautiful, to be able to do that. Now, most of that was to go. Our breakfasts and our dinners are to go, and our lunches are to go as well, but also inside, able to eat. We found that the majority of our guests, even now, we've been open for months and months and months, where guests could come in inside and eat, and many still prefer to take it to go, just because they don't feel that safe eating inside still. And so that's another way of providing dignity. So we aren't dictating, hey, this is how you have to eat. You get the choice. And that's beautiful, I think. We're changing that up starting Monday, where everybody will still have to come inside, but they can still take it to go. But that just helps us kind of manage, or we're giving away food and stuff like that. So we're going to have both people be able to eat off of trays inside, or take food to go starting Monday. And so that's pretty exciting. And then this right here, this vegetables that's down here, that's something that happened last summer. We had a local farmer who's been a longtime volunteer. He's an organic farmer, and he was able to raise food just for Damiano. And so every week on Tuesday, we would get a shipment of hundreds of pounds of vegetables that we would just turn around and hand right back out to people. I think between that and our kids' kitchen, in our summer food corps program, we gave out almost 4,000 pounds of fresh organic vegetables that were grown right around here, throughout all of COVID. So that's really beautiful. Okay, this is our clothing programs. We have Clothes That Work in the free store. Now the free store is open to anybody, and when we're not in COVID, it's open 5 days a week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And people can come in and get a bag of clothes a day, and there's no questions asked. They just can come in, take a bag of clothes, whatever they might need, and we have all kinds of clothes in there, and shoes and socks and everything like that. And then and they can come as many times as they want in that week. They just have to take a bag of clothes a day. With COVID, that had changed. For a while early on, we were doing we would shop for people. They would tell us what they need. We'd shop for them and then get it out to them outside in the parking lot. And then we slowly kind of kept changing it. So we've been having people come in, I think since, I can't remember now, January or February, where people can come in and shop for themselves. That's another way to give dignity back. to be able to have people, so we're not shopping for somebody. We also had a lot of case managers throughout all of COVID. Case managers and arms workers would come in and shop for their clients, and then get the clothes out to the people that they needed. So that never ended. We never actually closed really any of our programs. They just looked different. But we've been able to have people shop in a safe way, socially distanced, for quite some time now. And then our Clothes at Work program, that is all kinds of different clothes. And that's for people who have a job coming up, interview coming up, or if they're currently employed. When they have an interview coming up, they can get 3 sets of clothes. Now that might be dress clothes, so that they're ready for their interview, so they feel confident. But then if they get the job, they can come back and get 5 sets of clothes every 6 months. They can go to our free store as much as they want, but this is more specialized. So we have a lot of business casual, things like that. But we also have black clothes for working in food service, and we have steel toe boots and construction clothes, and we have nursing scrubs, and we have all kinds of different things for all sorts of different jobs. And that works out really well. So we can kind of keep some of that separate so that we have those specialized items. I'll tell you, steel toe boots are required in a lot of jobs, and that is a huge cost barrier to people. And so we're able to provide those for people so that they can be employed in those jobs that help them, do the work that they want to do and need to do. And so, and non-slip shoes and all kinds of stuff like that. So that program, that has been by appointment only for most of COVID. And then now it's drop in on a couple days a week as well. So we've been doing that, and that's slowly opening up more as well. Then we have our community services. That's kind of our catch-all program. So that is hygiene and mail for people who don't have an address. And it is referrals to other programs and use of the phone, and bus passes or bus tokens for people to daily take the bus, and pay down bus cards for people who are currently employed, and gas vouchers for people who are currently employed. And the reason we have those with that stipulation is partially because of a grant that we have, but it's also to help people make it to the next paycheck so they can stay employed and keep getting getting that paycheck. And so it's to help people with that. And then we have tons of household items, and that's for people who get a new apartment. So if they move into a new apartment, it's a big barrier to get all the things you might need. So we can provide pots, pans, plates, cups, bowls, towels, the microwaves if we have them, coffee pots, cleaning supplies, bedding, all those sorts of things that help you feel like you are settled and in your place. And we also work with people if they have, like, one time I happened to be down there working, and there was a woman that came in, and somebody else in her apartment building had a fire, and it smoke damaged all their clothes, and she had 5 kids, single mom, and we were able to provide her with all new stuff for her kids. And that's just beautiful that we can continue to do that. And so that program has continued throughout COVID. It's looked different in a lot of different ways, but yeah, we have drop-ins now where people are coming in several days a week. But throughout all of COVID, we've given out bus tokens when the buses weren't free, and giving out gas vouchers, and giving out all kinds of different stuff out in the parking lot for people, hygiene and all sorts of stuff. This is our newest program. This is our Hygiene Unit. We bought this back in January, and then we finally were able to open it in March. It took us a little while, a lot longer than we thought it would. Kept running into lots of complications. The people who built it are from North Carolina, and they said, this thing is hard enough to open in the summertime. You guys are crazy for trying to open it in the wintertime. But we did it, and it's great. It has 6 showers and toilets. Each of these, those things with the numbers on it, has a toilet, a sink, and a shower in it. And there's 3 on this side and 3 on the other side. And what it does is it allows us to provide hot showers for anybody who needs it, and anybody is welcome to use it. People can come up. It's just drop in. If people want to schedule ahead of time, they can, but we haven't seen that to be a need. So people don't have any barriers. They can just come up and utilize the the shower every day or even multiple times a day if they want to. And then the toilet is available too, because there's a lot of times where there hasn't been free open toilets throughout the downtown area. And so we were able to provide that as well. And it has just been an awesome program. I don't have a picture close up of the inside, but it's beautiful inside. It's clean. And then we have, because of COVID, these are two of our employees, Patrice and Tervar. We clean after every single person that uses it. So this shower unit is cleaner than my shower at home. I'll tell you that. And it's really beautiful. And so people are able to use it. It's safe, it's sanitary, and we provide free a towel service and the shampoo, conditioner, all the things that they might need is all in the unit. And then we also provide clothes and hygiene for any additional things that people might need for grooming and all that sort of stuff. So everybody coming through is able to use that. And then our last program actually it's not our last program, but HealthRealization is our it's a support group, and it's not faith-based. It's not 12 steps. It's a different opportunity for people. A lot of people use it for overcoming addiction. And when we're not in COVID, the group runs on Wednesday nights at about 100 people every single time. During COVID, we had to keep those numbers to 10 or below. And so we met outside for a long time, and then we met inside, but we had to keep it under 10. And now we're able to just keep it socially distanced, but it's over 10. So that's going really, really well. We have a women's group that meets on Sundays and a mixed group that meets on Mondays. We did have a men's group that was running for a while, but didn't see as many people taking advantage of that as we thought might. So we just try new things and see what works and see what doesn't. So it's a great community of people who are supporting each other and walking on this journey of life together. And so it's a lot of changing your thinking, changing your thought processes. It's really beautiful. And it's just an amazing group. I used to run a treatment center, and I sit on these groups and I'm like, wow, yeah, this is awesome. And I felt better about myself after sitting in on those sessions myself. Then we have our 2 kids programs. So this is Kids Kitchen. It is a drop-in center for kids from 3 to 6, Monday through Thursday. So kids can come in, they get a snack at 3, and they play games, and they work on homework, and they do art, and they learn how to make food together, and they do all sorts of different stuff. And it's an amazing program. And it's a lot of kids from the neighborhood, but then there's also kids that come in from farther out. And what it is kids who are 6 and older can be there without a parent or guardian. But if they're under 6, they have to be there with a parent or guardian. So there's a lot of parents that are also in the space. And then at 5 o'clock, we serve a meal. And that is open to kids and their families too. So a lot of times we'll have kids and their families sitting down at the table, eating in our space together as a family. And that's such a beautiful thing that a lot of people take for granted. And so it's an opportunity to have a safe space for that to happen. Throughout COVID, due to working with the public health, they had said that either we have to pick 5 kids and keep those kids all throughout the whole time, or open it up to anybody and serve those meals outside. So that's what we chose to do. We actually served during the kids' kitchen time, but we opened it up to adults and to kids. And so people were able to come and get food because we were the only place that was serving dinner throughout COVID. And so that worked out really, really well. And so we were able to serve a lot of people. Things are changing next week because our kids' kitchen is opening back up, and we're letting kids come back inside next week. And so we're going to be limiting the number of dinners that we're serving to adults because the Union Gospel Mission has opened back up too and serving some to-go stuff. So we're able to work together. We're not going to have any meals that are missed in the Twin Ports, but it's going to be working out really well. So Kids Kitchen, we're excited to see how that goes starting up on Monday. And our last one is our Summer Food Corps. Now this is a youth employment program. And what it is we hire teens from the community to generally from 15 to 18. And in the mornings, they they plant, harvest, maintain our community garden beds. We have urban farming. We teach them urban farming. And so we work with the master gardeners, and we work with a couple other groups to do to learn how to grow food. And many of them, this is the first time they're really doing this kind of work, and it's beautiful. They are harvesting and growing all this food. And then we talk a lot about all sorts of stuff, different stuff, but like food justice and things like that, and access to food and access to fresh vegetables and all sorts of stuff. And the teens then make the call of what they want to do with that food. And often they just choose to give it away. And so when we do that, we give it away at Chum, at the food shelf, or we'll give it away in our community kitchen, or it'll be also used to make dinner for the kids for Kids Kitchen. So they're getting fresh vegetables that the older kids have raised. Now, the beauty of that is the teens are saying, hey, if I sell this for the prices that, are at the farmer's market or something like that, then my family can't afford it. But if we give it, or if we undercut the farmers, then we're literally undercutting the farmers, and that's not good either. So then they just choose to give it away, and that's really awesome. And the cool thing about them having that food available for the kids in the evening is the little kids think it's cool because the older kids raise this food and they're excited about it. So literally I've had kids fighting over who's going to eat the last broccoli in the snack and things like that. And so it's pretty cool to see the little kids getting excited about fresh vegetables that these older kids grew and raised. And so it works really well on all fronts there. So yeah, it's a pretty neat program that we've had for about 4 years now. 4 years. So the Damiano runs on donation. So we have lots of items that come in and get brought in bags like that. They get piled here in a big sorting area, and then we have volunteers that sort it all out and then send it out to people in the free store and then close that work, or community services. And it's amazing. Almost everything that we get in the clothing area is donated by the community or by organizations. And so that's a huge testament to you all for helping to get those clothes out to people for free. And so that's really beautiful. Some statistics I want to share with you is who we serve. Now, 42% rent, 7% own their own home, 10% live with family or friends, 14% are couch hopping, 17% are emergency shelter, 15 transitional housing, 9 live in their car or outdoors, and 7% are other. Now, if you are quick with math, you'll realize that's way over 100%. And that's because a lot of people, their reality is multiple of these. And so they're listing multiple ones that they have. Now, when I first got there, I thought it was a little odd that 42%, this is new numbers, it wasn't this numbers at that time, but 42% rent and 7 own their own home. And I thought, why is that? You'd think that we're just serving homeless people or people experiencing homelessness. And it's not the case at all. In fact, I love it now. I very quickly realized that that's beautiful, because in Duluth, we talk a lot about housing first. And when someone has housing, then they have the stability that they need to be able to do the other things that they need to do, get their kids on the bus, get their, to work a job, to do all the things that you need to do in order to pay your bills. And so Damiano can come alongside people and help them stay in that job, stay in that housing, stay in, keeping their kids in school, all the things that are so important to, but that a lot of times we take for granted, because it just takes a lot to keep all that going when you're living paycheck to paycheck. And so we're able to provide clothing support and food support and after school programming and all kinds of different stuff to help people keep that going. And so that's really, really beautiful. And then we serve a large percentage of people, anything from under own your own home, all the rest of that is considered homelessness. And so those are all different areas that fall into the capacity of homelessness. And then a lot of times you'll hear people say, oh, why can't people get a job? Well, 36% of our people that visit have a job. Many of them are working multiple jobs. I've sat and ate with many people who, single mom, single dad, working 2-3 jobs just to keep their, just to pay the bills. And it's really hard to keep that going. And so they are doing that, but there's a lot of that's a struggle even in of itself. And then those that are not employed are often because of maybe they have a disability, maybe they have a mental health issue, they are suffering abuse and just can't keep that going. And then many have a criminal record, and so that keeps them from, and they might be doing great but can't, no one's hiring them due to that criminal record, unfortunately. And so there's a lot of things that keep people from being employed, even though they might want to. And I just want to say a little bit, I talked about this a little bit, but we really try to offer no judgment. We believe that everybody is worthy of honor and respect. And so this gets a little bit into also someone might not be able to make ends meet. Again, often people are in a health crisis. Many are experiencing domestic violence. Many people, the primary earner in the household, might have died, maybe imprisoned, something that is keeping them from actually working, a disability or something like that. Something happened at work. And so that can just kind of set people in a spiral that's hard to get out of. There's a lot of times there's fire, other disaster, job loss, and then mental health issue and a disability. So we have lots of different factors there. And then I could get into a lot of different things about either cliff effect or federal poverty guidelines and generational poverty. There's a lot of factors that it's not just an easy quick fix. Hey, somebody get a job. There's so many barriers that happen that are with that. This cliff effect is specifically, there's like, you can only earn so much. You get all kinds of services if you're under a certain you make, under a certain amount of money. But then say you get over that and it's not that much. If you get over that, all those benefits fall away and it's like you're falling off a cliff, and then it's only you, and you don't have any way to make that ends meet and to be able to get back all those benefits that you had when you weren't making anything. And so it's almost like trapping people a little bit. I want to work, I want to make this, but I can only make so much money, because after that it's like I'm more poor than I was before, because I have to meet all these criteria. And so it's really tough. It's really, really tough. And then I just want to put in there ways to partner. Now, there's always opportunity to volunteer, and that has been not the case with COVID. We've only had limited volunteers, but that's starting to come back. We're slowly bringing that back, and we work very closely with St. Louis County Public Health and the State Department of Public Health. And so we're working closely together to make that be as safe as possible for our guests and for our volunteers and staff. And then talk about it. Talk about the Damiano. Talk about what you're seeing, maybe things you hear in this. Make it a part of conversation. That's huge. And then obviously there's ways to support through donations and financially as well. But that is what I have.
Let me just speak on behalf of everyone here that is on the line before we get to Q&A, which is just a huge, huge thank you for all that you and the whole Damiano Center do for the Duluth community. We are so honored to have you be featured for our Woven Basket this month. I've put a link in the chat if anyone hasn't yet, directly to the Damiano Center donate button, as well as our Woven Basket, so that we can get credit for having donated for this month to Damiano. But just a huge amount of gratitude outpouring for all the services and the chance just to learn about all the impact that you're making.
Thank you, Brett.